All right, so the mask that I'm using as a reference, okay, this mask right here, it has little dots up here or little textures. So I've drawn my little dots, textures with blue color pencil. So now I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna shade just that top part. And this paper, I'm putting it over my drawing because I don't wanna mess up my drawing. It's always a good thing when you're shading to rest your hand on a separate sheet of paper, so that way you're not smearing your pencil lines and getting graphite or color pencil on the palm of your hand and then smearing it around the edges of your paper. You really want to keep your paper clean. So I'm just going to take my blue and I'm just going to start shading. And I'm starting off very, very light and then building my way to dark. And I'm using circular motion because it's neater, right? We want to avoid this. And then also, you know, you always want to keep your color pencils sharpened. That's real important. A lot of students will just color, 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 and then they get down to the wood, and then the wood starts creating a mark on the paper. You really want to avoid that. So keep your pencils sharp. And then slow, take your time, circular motion with your color pencil. Okay, I'm starting to lose my dots because I'm going a little darker, so I'm just gonna make my dots a little darker now so I don't lose them as I color. Okay, takes time. Drawing takes time. So if you want to get a good grade, then you're going to have to really take your time and not rush. Light, 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 circular motion. Light, light, light. As I get to where the bridge of the nose is going to be, my pencil is going to go lighter and lighter and lighter, and then I'm just going to leave that top part white. Now I'm going to go over to this side and do the same on this side. Oops, I think I have to make my little dots darker first. Circular motion, shading very lightly at first, covering as much white as possible. You should not leave any white areas on your paper unless they are highlights, which is part of the shading, right? You should not be coloring so fast that you're leaving little white edges. Like that, see? Wait, hold on. See that right there? Yeah. So what happens is that oftentimes students will scribble because they're in a hurry, they're trying to get it done. And they'll go like super fast, and then they end up not coloring their subject matter completely. You really want to color completely. Take your time. Okay, so I have a white area that makes up the bridge of the nose, right? So I'm gonna go back to the sides. I'm gonna go back, look at my picture one more time, and then go back to the sides and make these sides a little bit darker. Which means, once again, My dots have to be darker. Okay, so I'm going to make the underside of the string darker. In fact, you know what? I don't like the pencil. Honestly, I don't like the pencil color. So you know what? I'm just going to erase that. I'm just going to erase the pencil. Wait, here's my other eraser. I just don't like the way that pencil looks. This is really not desirable. Okay, go back in there. Try to get rid of that pencil, the graphite, the lead. Trying to get rid of that. That the presentation is really, really important, right? So you have to really take some care into your work. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back in and redraw the string with my colored pencil. And this top part, it's gonna be darker underneath. And then I'm just gonna curve it over to the other side and then make it darker on the side and make it darker on the underneath. Like that. So it just looks like a line kind of. And then you know what? I'm gonna take my blue pencil and I'm just gonna color that top. And it's kind of hard to see the shading, to be honest. It's really sort of difficult to see that there's a shadow. Yeah. So I may have to go back in with a darker color pencil, a darker blue. And then so now I'm doing the underside. And I'm just gonna color that in very, very lightly, taking my time. Okay, so now it's kind of hard to see what's dark and what's light on this. So what I'm gonna do is find a darker blue. Here's a, it says light blue. So initially I was using sky blue. So I'm gonna try this light blue. See, can you see that? Oh, the sun's shining in. Oh, lovely. The sun is rising and it's messing up my video. I can't even tell if you guys can see that. Actually, if I can't tell, you probably can't tell. So I'm gonna finish with this light blue, then I'm gonna go back over it with a darker blue. Because if I can't tell, you can't tell. When your pencils break, like they break in the sharpener or they break when you're drawing, the reason why that's happening is because you drop them on the floor. Believe it or not, pencils are fragile. If you drop them on the floor, then the lead on the inside, or in this case, the color, it's like a color stick, right? That's on the inside of the pencil. Yeah, that stick breaks into a million pieces. It's sort of like it gets little breaks, little cuts. And so every time you go to sharpen it, it breaks in the sharpener because that whole piece on the inside is actually broken. So you want to be careful not to drop your pencils. And some people, they're just like, oh, what's the big deal? Pencil's only 20 cents or whatever. Oh, color pencil's so cheap. Just buy them at Walmart, blah, 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 blah. But if you were to actually pay for art pencils, which are like $1 a pencil, you're going to care if they break. Especially if you're like a student in college, and it could be community college, right? And you know, they tell you have to go out and buy art supplies for this class, and you're like, you have to buy all this stuff. You know, it's a different deal when you can go to school and you can use the teacher's pencil than it is when you actually have to buy all of it yourself. Okay, so, whoops. You know what? That looks pretty good. Okay, and then I will do the other side later. For our purposes, I think that's enough.